financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Hi, welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Jenny Lingle, nice to see you.
Good to see you,
Brian
Ken.
Small.
Always a pleasure.
Special guest, Jeffrey Kirschner.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. Jeff is a Social Security and Workers' Compensation law expert, and today we're going to focus on Social Security. How does Social Security disability really work? This is a topic that everybody hears about it, and if you start asking people, whether they're lawyers or laypersons, very few people really know the rules when it comes to Social Security disability, how it works, when it's applicable. Jeffrey is a 22-year expert practicing law in this field. He's also a Spartan, I'll have you know, Brian, because Brian is an avid U of M Wolverine.
Go
so
State.
I thought I'd throw that out
My
there.
daughter's a Spartan. Go blue, however.
Brian.
Now, we've talked about on the show many times with Pat Simasco, our elder law expert, about Social Security retirement, which is, you turn 62, you're eligible. Full retirement age is 66 to 67. You can hold off and not collect until 70 and suspend benefits and all those issues. We've covered that. We're not going to talk about that
That's
today.
good. Then stop talking about
We're
it.
going to focus on good point. Social Security disability. That's the topic for today. It's going to be a question of really fleshing it out. Now, Jeff, I know there's two programs. Social Security SSD is what?
Social Security disability under Title II. That's based on paying into the system, essentially. Being unable to work, but having worked in sufficient amount of years in order to qualify for Social Security disability.
So if I've been working and they've been taking Social Security out of my check, or I'm self-employed and I'm paying in self-employment tax, in that situation, I'm in a situation where if I have a disability, I might be eligible for what we call SSD?
Correct. But you have to take a look to see when you became disabled and when you worked. With regard to Social Security disability, in order to qualify, when you become disabled. And when Social Security makes a determination as to when somebody is disabled, that's called a disability onset date. They take a look at that disability onset date, whatever that magic date is, and they look back at the immediate past 10 years. And an individual, to qualify for Social Security disability benefits, had to have worked in at least 5 full years of the past 10 years, although they break down a year into 4 quarters, so it's 20 quarters of the immediate past 40 quarters in order to have what's called insured status. You have to have insured status.
Gets you to the point where you would then be eligible for Social Security disability if you qualified and met the disability standard?
Correct.
All right, now, if you don't qualify, let's suppose you have not been paying into the system. You've been earning cash, or you haven't been you've been a spouse, a non-working spouse. In that case, you're not eligible for SSD, but there's still a benefit that you can sometimes qualify for called SSI.
Correct. That's
What is that?
Supplemental Security Income, Title 16 benefits for individuals, again, who are unable to work, and we'll talk about that later, unable to work for 12 months or longer. It doesn't matter what the disability is, whether it be physical, cognitive, emotional. But for SSI, it's not based on your work history. SSI is a government-funded program. It's kind of like a welfare program. But in order to qualify, ignoring the issue of when you're disabled or not, you can only have a limited amount of assets. You can only have, if you're an individual, you can only have up to $2,000 worth of assets. If you are married, household income or assets can only be up to $3,000, although they do exclude a principal place of residence and they exclude a vehicle.
And so you're allowed something. It's kind of similar to the Medicaid rules when we're dealing with Pat Simasco and Brian and Jenny. We talk about that when you're trying to get someone eligible from Medicaid in the nursing home. You've got that $2,000 rule. You can still have a house. You can still have a car. You can only have, like, I think $660 a month of income is all they let you keep.
Now, what about 401ks or IRAs? Does that count in those assets?
That's absolutely counted against you. It doesn't matter that your intent was, I wasn't going to touch this till I was retired or I need it for something else. What other assets you have? Some people come and tell me that they inherited some piece of property way up in northern Michigan that they don't even know where the property is. If you have a second piece of property, and even if the property is up for sale, you want to get rid of it, that's still counted against you. It's still an asset that's counted against you.
What about a pension? Let's say you were divorced and you received your ex-spouse's half of his pension, but you're not entitled to take it until you're over 59 and a half. Is that going to preclude you from getting Social Security disability or
It's possible,
SSI?
depending on the rules of the pension. Some pensions allow you to get that pension early.
So, like, if you had a 401k and you could take a hardship withdrawal or you could take it out with a penalty, then that would exclude you?
Correct.
But if you're
It's
40 and you can't get to it till you're 59, you're not going to be excluded.
Then you can fight for saying that it's impossible for you to touch it. It's not a disposable asset. There are some arguments you can make in that type of scenario. Most people we see, though, aren't in that scenario.
Let's create a framework, because I want to walk through it as we go and cover the show, because I want to get through everything. The first question is, you have to make a determination of whether you're disabled. If you meet that disability, and we're going to talk about that when we get back from the break, then the question is, are you eligible for Social Security disability? Have you paid into the system? Do you meet that status? If the answer is yes, then you go through and you get the benefit of those benefits. If the answer is no, then you got to swing over and say, can I qualify for SSI? If the answer is yes, you get less benefits in SSI. But if the answer is no, you get nothing.
Correct.
That's it. There's only two programs. There's SSD, SSI, and door number C is nothing, which is a difficult situation for people that happens. But let's start. What's the basic rule on the definition of disabled?
Well, there's a 5-step process you have to go through. It's, first of all, whether or not you are working right now. If you are working, obviously you're not qualified. So the next step is whether or not you have an ailment, an injury that precludes you from working, whether it precludes you from walking, sitting, standing, things of that nature.
We're coming up to a break. I can see we've got to go through this one a little bit more carefully. You come back from the break, we're going to walk through how you get to establishing a disability and why you need a lawyer. We'll be back.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
Okay, welcome back. All right, Jeff, I want to walk through the issue of how you establish the disability so that, because you have to do that whether you're going to get SSD or SSI. But before we get to that, I think people need to realize an issue. You can engage an attorney to represent you at the application process, or you can engage the attorney on, once you've been denied, to appeal that process and to assist you. In my view, and what we've talked about, is the smart thing that I don't think people realize is, number one, you don't pay the attorney. The attorney gets paid by the government.
Correct.
And number two, have that attorney representing you when you do the application so that you don't screw it up. Because if you do the application and you screw it up, two things happen. One is you get denied, and then you have to appeal or reapply. And number two, you can say things in the application that if you had the benefit of counsel, you wouldn't have said, that can later prejudice you even on an appeal.
Correct.
You see that? So people, I always say, people always see these commercials. If you've been denied disability, call this number. I think the right commercial should be, if you are disabled, before you apply for Social Security disability, call this number, talk to a guy like Jeff, who can walk you through the process and assist you in the application. Does that make sense?
That makes all the sense in the world.
I mean, people, I think it's a big point that I think is missed when it comes to Social Security disability. Now, I know there's steps. Step number one on established disability is, are you working? What do they mean by that? What is this significant? It's okay. You have to have you can't have significant gainful activity. What does that mean?
Correct. Significant gainful activity is a level of income every month. The level as of 2016 is $1,130 a month.
So if I'm making more than that, I'm not disabled?
Correct.
No matter what?
Well, it depends on how long you've been making it. If you were off for a while and you go back and you try working, you could still kind of apply
Average
and
out
ask.
to that
Right.
amount.
If you're making an attempt to work, you haven't worked in a while, you try working. That doesn't just
But if
kill
I
your
was
application
making
process.
$8,000 a month, and now I am disabled, and I'm only able to make $2,000 a month, I'm not going to meet the definition of disability?
You're still not qualified. That's correct. And you have to be unable to work for 12 months or longer. Or the anticipated disability, when they look at your case, will be 12 months or longer.
So people that are dealing with the 8,000 down to 2,000 issue, that's where you need disability insurance, because you're not going to be able to get it from Social Security is what it really comes down to.
Right, because you're still working. Okay,
All right.
exactly.
Now I know there's another condition that says, is your medical condition severe?
Right.
So it has to be severe. What do they mean by that?
Well, it has to interfere with your abilities to do basic work activities. Sitting for prolonged periods of time, standing, walking, lifting, even cognitive things such as remembering things. Those are the type of severe impairments that they're talking about in terms of interfering with your ability to perform work.
If you have like psychological traumas and things like that, can that be a severe medical condition as well?
Absolutely. I have
just
a
have-
lot
just
of
have to be able to
psychological
establish
claims.
it.
What if you were working a line, okay, and you're making $65,000 a year. You're injured, you can't work the line anymore, but there's nothing that is going to keep you from sitting at a desk other than the fact that you may not be qualified to sit at a desk and be a secretary or administrative assistant. Does that preclude you from collecting Social Security disability, or is it because you're no longer able to do the job that you were doing?
Well, a little more complicated than that, because there are people that once you hit age 50, age 55, if their residual capacity to work is lighter, is light work, maybe even sedentary work, there are some residual functional capacity grids that they could grid into because they can't go back and do that heavy work. But for most people, certainly younger than 50, just because you can't go back and work on the assembly line, if you can do other work, you can earn substantial gainful activity, then you are not disabled. You are limited, but you're not disabled. You can still work, you can still earn an income, and it doesn't matter with regard to Social Security that you can't go back and work on the line. You can't even do jobs that you may want to do. You can't do a job that earns what you were making in the past or even make ends meet if you could still work. And it's a theoretical argument. If there's jobs that exist and a significant amount in the economy that you could still perform despite your limitations, whether it be a security guard or surveillance system monitor,
have to be put in a
ticket
position
taker.
where you can't work. Is the argument you have to make?
Yes.
What do they talk about with your? Does your impairment meet a listing? What does that mean?
Well, with regard to listings, it's one way to be found to be disabled. Although it's difficult to meet a listing, Social Security publishes essentially a menu of every injury.
So if you meet one of these items on the list, then you can. That's one way of qualifying for disability.
Correct. If you meet, for instance, your low back under listing 1.04, or psychological injury under listing 12.04, they list a menu of different criteria, 5 to 10 different criteria, and if you meet that criteria, mainly based on what your doctors have had to say and objective medical findings, you could automatically qualify for benefits.
All right, so here's what you guys watching out there need to realize is you have all of these standards and all of these rules that are created by this system and all of these little, going back to where we were talking about at the break, door number C, as I said before. You have all these door numbers, whether they're A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, or 4 guys. What it comes down to is you have to fit within the rules. And that's why you need counsel to analyze your situation, to help assist and position your things so you fit within the rules. There's gray areas, and if you don't know the gray areas, you end up saying things and applying and making statements that harm you that don't need to be made. It's not a question of lying, it's a question of making sure you understand the process and you take the facts that you have and work with them in the best possible way to accomplish your goal of meeting criteria for eligibility. And that's where it's really important to get counsel. This is something that it's very simple to say. You cannot do it on your own.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us Tuesdays noon to 1 and 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Law and Reality Live. That's on WCHB 1200 AM 99.9 FM. Thursdays 3 to 4 p.m. with Cliff Russell on Law and Reality Now on 9:10 a.m. We have seminars coming up. The first one is on Wednesday, November 9th. It's not a trick, it's a treat to get out of debt. That's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. This is a seminar focusing on all the methods that we use to preserve future income for you and your family. The process is figure out the smartest way to eliminate or minimize your debt so that you start saving that money for retirement and for a cash reserve rather than just paying it out every month to the banks and to your creditors. Again, that's free, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, November 9th. Attendees receive a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. On Wednesday, December 7th at 6 to 7:30 p.m., we have our next elder law seminar called The Legal Side to Nursing Home Care for Mom and Dad. Pat Simasko and Jim Simasko from Simasko Law are elder law experts and our featured speakers. They're going to talk about Medicaid planning, veterans aid and attendance benefits, all the things that you need to know when mom and dad are at the point where they need nursing home care. It's a big expense, it's a lot of pressure, it's a difficult time. You need to be able to plan for that and know how to handle that situation. Brian's going to talk about debt issues for the elderly. I'm going to talk about basic estate planning issues as well. Sign up at thavgross.com or lawandreality.com, or you can always call 888-235-HELP to register for the seminars. We have three free reports on the websites on thavgross.com and lawandreality.com, Business Formations and Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. This is an article that addresses the steps you need to take in order to start a business, and also provides 14 programs where there's funding for the startup of a new business. It's got contact information, the names and addresses of the right people to contact and talk to about the programs and all the elements of the programs. Pat Simasko's Retiree's Guide to Social Security is also available on the site, and How to Save Your Home with Regulation X, The Hidden Secrets, which is a report on how to avoid foreclosure and obtain a loan modification and intercede in that process. That's available as well. We'll be right back.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Simasko Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Simasko Law today.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, so one of the things, so we've kind of covered the issue of how you establish the disability. Now I want to jump back to what we were talking about at the beginning. If you're eligible for Social Security disability, as I understand it, the benefit range there is between $1,130 and $1,900 a month, basically?
That's the average, although individuals can qualify. I think it's capped right now at a little over $2,600 a month.
So that's for Social Security disability. Now, if you're not eligible for SSD because you don't have the work
credits.
The work credits, then you have to go to SSI. And there, what's the benefit there?
The benefit there is through the federal government again. The average is about $530 a month. It's capped, I think, right now a little over $700 a month.
So a massive difference.
A massive difference. And one other thing is that if you qualify for Social Security disability, 30 months from your disability onset date, you can qualify for Medicare.
Even if you're not 65. Because if you're 65, you get it anyway.
Correct. But on SSI, Supplemental Security Income, there is no Medicare even if you're disabled for 30 months, although a lot of times there is Medicaid available to those people. They've already met this disability standard.
In order to qualify for SSI, you basically are meeting the Medicaid criteria as well.
Right, so there's not a guarantee, but most likely they would qualify for Medicaid.
Is there a look-back rule for SSI like there is for Medicaid? Like in Medicaid, if you transfer your assets within 5 years, you're not eligible for Medicaid. If you transfer your assets a year before you apply for SSI, do they look at those transfer of assets to exclude you from SSI?
No, they look back as when you became disabled, whether or not that you met that criteria or not at the time you became disabled.
So you had to have transferred the assets before you become disabled.
Right, and
that can be a problem.
Right, one thing with SSI is you can only get benefits as of the date you file your application. So that's what the date where they're looking at going
Whereas
forward.
SSD, it can relate back to the onset of the disability.
SSD can, but actually SSD you can get back as far as 1 year prior to your application filing,
There you
depending on when you're found to be disabled.
Yeah, but more important.
Yeah, your question,
here's a
right.
question, because everybody sitting out there is saying, all right, that's all great. And you say, if we qualify, reality, how many people qualify when they fill out the application themselves? What happens to them? What's the percentage of people that get denied, and why do they get denied?
I would say 85, 90% of people, when they file their initial application, get denied. Whether you have an attorney or not, Social Security, unless you have a life-threatening illness, whether you have permanent paralysis, you're going to get denied at the initial stage. They do a very poor job of analyzing your case more times than not. When the technician that looks at your case a month or 2 months after you apply doesn't have all the medical records, certainly can't interpret all the records, you're going to get denied at the initial stage.
So you get denied. What percentage of people that get denied, they get that denial letter, just go, I'm stuck, I can't do anything, and walk away?
A huge percentage, just like anything else. When they hear the word no, they think, oh, I can't qualify, there's no sense in going on, I'll move on to something else.
Is
So
the
what
government denying these people for the simple reason of saying, let's just deny everybody because 50% of them won't reapply and we'll save the money, it helps our budget?
I think
Is
they.
that-
I
I
think
mean, I
that's
think
part
that's
of
what
it.
they're- yeah.
I think part of it is that they're just lazy. I think they do a poor job. I think they're inundated. The amount of claims have increased substantially since 2008 when the market tanked.
Understaffed to some point.
And there's no penalty for applying and get denied. Most people will apply anyway because there's no penalties. There's no fee to apply. And if you get denied, there's no penalty for filing a claim just because you have a hangnail.
Brian, I can see you're dying to say
Well,
something.
no, I'm
That's
just
something.
saying that the reality is,
We got about a minute left.
you got all these people that get denied, and they leave the system instead of pursuing it. It really makes sense if you're thinking about applying for disability to check with a lawyer like yourself to make sure that the ducks are in a row.
Absolutely. At every stage, I help with the application process, the initial. If they get denied right away, I file a request for hearing so they're not precluded. I help with getting medical records with regard to doctors, getting forms out to doctors, preparing clients for the hearing.
Now, Jeff, I just want to interrupt you there. There's a lot of people think they can't afford an attorney. When is it that you get paid?
I only get paid if I'm successful, and there's no upfront fee. There's no fee to come and see me.
And you get paid by the government.
Correct. It gets.
Just so people know, if you want to get a free consultation with Jeff, easiest way, go to the Law and Reality website, click on Social Security Disability. Jeff will then reach out to you, call you, and set up a free consultation. You can also call our offices at 888-235-HELP, and we will put you in touch with Jeff. Jeff, I want to really thank you for coming today. We'll have you back again and explore it further because it's a topic that has so many technicalities, you can't really cover it in one show. But I think we did a good job of getting the overview. Thanks for coming. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.